How can we sum up your favorite team season in one word? We're going team by team to recreate my most viewed video from last year, where we sum up every NFL team season in one word. And I'll give my explanation as to why I feel that way. Did I summarize it properly? Did that word have a hyphen? Did I even spell it correctly? If I did, send me props. Anyway, let's get started. We are going in alphabetical order, starting with the Arizona Cardinals, whose 2025 season was garbage. 3-14 is not a positive sign for a season that revamped its defensive line and has good young pieces on offense. They were so bad, Fred Warner called them the clown with googly eyes with the good soldiers meme. The 49ers don't even need their best defensive player on the field to make the Cardinals look like shit. They fired Jonathan Gannon to the surprise of practically nobody except Jonathan Gannon. Jacoby Brissett was objectively better than Kyler Murray, even though he mainly produced in, wait for it, garbage time. They have no choice but to rebuild this offseason. They have the 3rd overall pick in the upcoming draft, a new head coach in Mike LaFleur, and a major decision to make about Kyler Murray. Is the future bright? That remains to be seen. But for now, their 2025 season was truly garbage. The Atlanta Falcons' 2025 season was confusing. Will the real Atlanta Falcons please stand up? They had all the talent in the world. Bijan Robinson, Drake London, Kyle Pitts occasionally. A pass rush that had the kind courtesy to wait until after the season to get in serious legal trouble. They really did show promise at times. They beat a very good Bills team. They beat the Vikings in the 5-second span that people thought JJ McCarthy was worth a shit. After starting 3-2, they lost 7 out of their next 8 and were eliminated from the postseason by week 14. Do you know how bad you have to be eliminated from the postseason in week 14 when you play in the NFC South? Golly. The Falcons fired Raheem Morris and replaced him with Kevin Stefanski's group chat. Will more confusion take place in 2026, or will they actually get their shit together? Do they keep Kyle Pitts? I need you guys to be 53 birds on a field and not 3 birds circling above my head. It's a confusion joke. The Baltimore Ravens' 2025 season was a struggle. This season was not what you'd expect from a usually extremely reliable Baltimore Ravens team. Despite high expectations, they went 8-9, including 1-5 against teams who made the postseason. Lamar Jackson popped up on the injury reports seemingly every week until he suddenly wasn't there by game time. The Ravens just weren't their usual self, and they missed the playoffs as a result. John Harbaugh was fired and made the head coach of the Giants almost immediately. Todd Monken became the next Browns head coach to be fired in 2 seasons, and the Ravens themselves introduced Jesse Minter as their next head coach. It was not a fun season to be a Baltimore Ravens fan, as their fans who bought front row seats tuned into Family Guy by the end of the game on Thanksgiving. Would I take that over a 24-0 loss and debilitating frostbite on Mendoza's? Family Guy's my comfort show, of course I would. Their season ended with a crushing missed field goal by Tyler Loop at the last second on the last play of the regular season, which allowed Ravens fans to watch Family Guy from the comfort of their own homes. It was a tough season, though I do like the Jesse Minter hire to get the Ravens back on track. The Buffalo Bills' 2025 season was expected. Josh Allen will always do Josh Allen shit. He'll pull a magic trick out of his ass and make himself look like a superhero. And on my next trick, I'm going to make Keon Coleman look competent. This season really was a continuation of the seasons the Bills have had of late. They were impeccable at times in the regular season, and Josh Allen made them look like legitimate competitors. James Cook had arguably the biggest jump that any running back had in 2025, as he went from decent to the leading rusher in the NFL. Damn. However, they had their normal playoff collapse that happens pretty much every year. The defense struggled in the AFC divisional round against your Denver Broncos as they lost 33-30. The Bills need to quit making Josh Allen their fall guy for literally everything. Get some actual elite pieces for Josh Allen instead of thinking of Josh Allen as that intern who will do everything and then gets blamed when things go awry. The Carolina Panthers' 2025 season was decent. Objectively, your Carolina Panthers were not too bad. Bryce Young steadily improved in his third season 1 year after being briefly benched for the frisky Ginge. That said, it was still pretty underwhelming as he only topped 200 yards in 25% of his starts. And this was despite the fact that his go-to wide receiver was the Offensive Rookie of the Year. They had everything a decent season could ask for. Good wins, like their overtime win against the Rams. Bad losses, like week 2 against the Cardinals. A division crown despite having a losing record, though they fell in the playoffs to the Rams in a close defeat. It was a decent season overall. They just need to figure out how to not be the most "we won our division despite going 8-9" team I've ever seen. The Chicago Bears' 2025 season was magical. Man, this team was so fun to watch. Even with inconsistent skill players, Caleb Williams was still able to pull magical moments out of his ass. The 47-42 surprise win in Cincinnati that made me understood that people can laugh in situations of extreme distress. Their 2 comeback wins against Green Bay that had miraculous throws in both of them, and also the Cole Kmet one against the Rams. That magic ultimately fell short as they lost to the Rams in the divisional round, but that's not to say they won't be a very good team for years to come. They finally established their offensive identity with Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams, though Declan Doyle is now the offensive coordinator of the Ravens. Colston Loveland had a major breakout in his rookie season, particularly in the second half. I love where the Bears are headed. Not in terms of the corporate stadium hellhole that they're about to build way too close to Gary, Indiana, but in terms of their team themselves. They finally have a passing offense that's productive and fun to watch. Though Caleb Williams ultimately came just short of the 4,000-yard passing threshold that no Bears QB has ever hit, 2025 showed that Caleb Williams will likely hit it in the very near future. The Cincinnati Bengals' 2025 season was panic-inducing. This was a strange year in the NFL, and the Cincinnati Bengals were not excused from that. They lost Joe Burrow to a turf toe injury in week 2 that I saw coming the instant I saw my Pookie sitting on the field against Jacksonville. Speaking of Joe Burrow-related panic, the existential dread of his press conferences. It's like, hey guys, I have Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and all the money I could ask for, and I'm still not having that much fun. Which means, oh my god, I have to deal with Joe Burrow rumors all offseason, don't I? It made a lot of Bengals fans wonder if their Super Bowl window was closing around them. Their most fun pass this season was thrown to an offensive tackle after they were eliminated from the playoffs, and it was fucking awesome, and don't tell me otherwise. Their most encouraging storyline on defense in 2025 was, hey, our first-round pick from 2023 is no longer an atrocity, so at least we got that going for us. It was a mess of a season for the Bengals, who had to fleece the Browns for Joe Flacco after Jake Browning reverted back to being the Josh Rosen of Jeff Driscoll's. Though Burrow did come back and provide some fun moments and brief hope for the Bengals, this season was largely disappointing and borderline concerning for Cincinnati Bengals fans. The Cleveland Browns' 2025 season was messy, and then they're too fucking clean. Okay, I'll shut up. Cleveland's season was a mess from the get-go. They started the season with Joe Flacco and then traded him to an in-state rival just so they could move up a few spots on day 3 of the draft, which is pretty funny if you ask me. They also had a QB controversy between Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders. It was a tight, controversial battle between a quarterback who was like watching paint dry and a quarterback who makes NFL-level throws to a player chosen at random on either team. People think Kevin Stefanski had it out for Shedeur Sanders. It angered Shedeur's fans so much, it made them forget that they now have to root for the Cleveland Browns. Gross. It was a rough performance overall, even with the many rookies shining. Their defense was so good, the Browns' defensive coordinator resigned and became unemployed, which is technically a promotion. They instead hired their old boo, Todd Monken. It was a messy season for the Browns, who fired their 2-time head coach of the year and hired their future scapegoat away from the Ravens. The Dallas Cowboys' 2025 season was flashy. The prototypical Dallas Cowboys. Fun to watch, and even more fun to play against if you're a capable quarterback. They struggled to play defense, particularly in the absence of Micah Parsons. Yes, their offense was fun and provided all the drama that gave Cowboys fans hope. Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, and George Pickens were an excellent tandem. Javonte Williams took every screw you I threw his way in the preseason and said screw you right back. That said, their atrocious defense prevented the Cowboys from making the playoffs and robbing us of that wild card / divisional round loss that we were all looking forward to. There were flashes where the Cowboys were very fun to watch, but that's about it. The Denver Broncos' 2025 season was joyous. This season for the Broncos was all about continuing to build what they had started to in 2024 and about taking the Chiefs' divisional crown away from them that they had held on to with Gorilla Glue in all major retailers nationwide. They picked up right where they left off and had a 14-3 season despite a 1-2 start. They rode that wave all the way to the #1 seed until it came all crashing down when Bo Nix suffered a broken ankle that nobody saw coming. Even with that close loss in the AFC title game, this was a season to remember for Broncos fans. The defense remains one of the league's best, and the offense is just a couple pieces away from being truly elite. The Detroit Lions' 2025 season was plagued. This season was rough for Lions fans. They despondently fell behind despite their excellent recent track record. They got hurt, and a lot. Aleem McNeil, Sam Laporta, Terrion Arnold, Kirby Joseph, Marcus Davenport, and Taylor Decker all suffered rough injuries that kept them out for extended periods of time. You know what didn't last for an extended period of time? Frank Ragnow's comeback attempt. It lasted about 15 minutes before he failed a physical. Rough times. They lost both of their coordinators to head coaching gigs in the most recent offseason, though they could get one of them back any moment now. He's clearly not having fun, and I don't expect anyone to have fun when it comes to the Jets. A lot of issues plagued the Lions this year. Injuries, new systems that had growing pains, inconsistency, losing to Max damn Brosmer. Hopefully they can bounce back in 2026. The Green Bay Packers' 2025 season was painful. Everywhere. Everywhere, Steve!
Who the hell is Steve?
I don't know. They suffered injuries throughout their entire roster. Jaden Reed hurt his collarbone and missed the majority of the season. Christian Watson missed the majority of the season because it's a legal requirement. Tucker Kraft tore his ACL in week 9. Micah Parsons tore his ACL in week 15. Savion Williams broke his foot. Elkton Jenkins and Devontae Wyatt both suffered fractured ankles 3 weeks apart. Hell, even Jordan Love missed the last few games of the season with a concussion. So much pain to go around everywhere. It wasn't painful in terms of just injuries. It was a season that started with the highest of highs when they got Micah Parsons and the lowest of lows when they gave up 25 points in the fourth quarter to the Bears in Chicago. You came in with legitimate Super Bowl hopes with Micah Parsons, and the season started out strong. After that, there were crucial and painful losses, the most painful of which were both to Chicago, who made successful come-from-behind efforts to do so. Even with the highs, the season was extremely painful for Green Bay. The Houston Texans' 2025 season was resilient. The Texans started off rough. They went 3-5 to start out, and it looked like all hope was lost. Right as everything seemed to be coming to a head, D'Amico Ryans was like, "Hey, Indy, can we have some of that good luck you seem to have at all times?" And it was so. After that rough start, they won out! They defeated Jacksonville after Sheldon Rankins ran a fumble Drewski back to the house. Thank you. Actually, I'm being told it's now called a fumble Drewski. Does he have to be everywhere? Fumble Drewski, what are we doing here? Hell, what are you doing here?
Don't worry about it.
Even with that, the Texans couldn't pull out a postseason run. CJ Stroud struggled badly, particularly with turnovers, and they fell to the Patriots in the divisional round. That said, it's still impressive on their part to start out 3-5 and then steamroll everyone on their path thanks to one of the NFL's best defenses. The Indianapolis Colts' 2025 season was mind-boggling. The Colts' 2025 felt like a fever dream. Daniel Jones was named the starter over Anthony Richardson, and fans lost their minds. There was nothing that could cure the despondency of the Colts fan base. That is, until they found the one cure out of absolutely nowhere. Daniel Jones was legit. Danny Dimes shocked everybody when he started with an 8-5 record through 13 games, including winning 8 of his first 9 starts. He compiled a 19-8 TD to interception ratio, had a passer rating of over 100 for the first time in his career, and was on to new heights, and then his body gave out. Indiana Jones suffered a fractured fibula and a torn Achilles in a matter of weeks. And that many leg injuries on a Colt usually means, oh no. After that, Ian Rappaport gave me the I remember where I was moment of the year by tweeting out that Phillip Rivers, of all people, was going to try to come out of retirement to try out for the Colts. Well, he somehow made the team, was fairly serviceable in his 3-start stint, but never managed to pull out a win. It was such a mind-boggling season for the Colts. I'm waiting until just now to mention that Jonathan Taylor did that defied the laws of physics. The Jacksonville Jaguars' 2025 season was magnificent.
You guys have had a most magnificent season.
Liam Cohen might legitimately be the McVay tree hire of the year. The Jags went from picking second overall to winning the AFC South by the slimmest of margins. They went from losing 13 games in 2024 to winning 13 games in 2025. Trevor Lawrence had a Pro Bowl caliber season. Had the Pro Bowl not been reserved for dudes we saw do cool shit on Twitter a couple times. Jacoby Myers came in and saved the receiver core's ass when Travis Hunter went down. Travis Etienne nearly doubled his rushing total from a season ago, and it was a well-oiled machine by the Jags overall, who ended the regular season on a blistering 8-game winning streak. On defense, one season after having the fewest interceptions in the league, they had the second most in the NFL with 22, only trailing the Bears. And they were one of 8 teams in the NFL to allow under 20 points a game. Now stop being mad at the reporter. She did nothing wrong. The Kansas City Chiefs' 2025 season was hungover. How's this for a stat? The Kansas City Chiefs are the second straight team to lose in the Super Bowl and go 6-11 in the next season. Like the Bills, the Chiefs quarterback play will only get them so far. They had a below average run game, a receiver core that had to squeeze whatever they could out of Juju Smith-Schuster, and a tight end room where Travis Kelce significantly slowed down due to the newfound revelation that he was being dragged down by his massive cock. The Kansas City Chiefs dealt with the Super Bowl hangover so bad, people were instantly spouting off about how their dynasty could legitimately be over, and probably. I am not counting them out until Patrick Mahomes hangs up his cleats for good. But for now, if you guys like this video, give this video a like and subscribe to the channel. We have a ton of fun around here. My last viewed video was my most viewed video of all time. Thank you guys so much for that, with just over 15,000 as I record this, which isn't a ton in the grand scheme of things, I'm hoping. But for a guy who lives in a shoebox, we're doing great. I appreciate all of you. A lot of you guys said some very nice things, and I'm excited to soon reach my goal of being oh so slightly able to make some money off of this. But for now, back to the video. The Las Vegas Raiders' 2025 season was Mendoza. I know the elephant in the room, and we'll get to that. This team was well below the Mendoza line, which describes a baseball player whose average is well below, well, average. The Raiders were absolutely futile on offense, even with incredible skill players. Geno Smith was the most sacked and most picked off quarterback in the league. The only parts of Geno Smith that rose to the occasion in 2026 were his middle fingers. Ashton Jeanty flashed but was inconsistent, but to absolutely no fault of his own. Brock Bowers was hurt for a while this year because the negatives from his college scouting report had yet to come true. Even with those strong pieces and Geno Smith's decently high expectations in 2025, the Raiders scored the second fewest points among any team in the league this year, and Pete Carroll was given the boot after one season in Vegas. Well below average. But Fernando Mendoza and Clint Kubiak are coming. Can they fix this despondent organization? All signs point to be determined. The Los Angeles Chargers' 2025 season was flawed. There was one major storyline that followed the Chargers all throughout this year: Madison Beer pregnancy rumors. Injuries to key players. They lost their 2 stud tackles for the year, which allowed Justin Herbert to get really good at making stink faces at Mekhi Becton. Marion Hampton missed a large portion of 2025, letting Kamani Vidal be the one to ask Santa for a better offensive line. Khalil Mack even missed time in 2025, but look on the bright side. At least now a lot of us can pronounce Tuli Tuipulotu. This was an objectively decent Chargers team, but not enough to the point that they couldn't get swallowed up by the Patriots in the playoffs. They had some quality wins, and Justin Herbert was his usual above-average self, and everyone will defend him because he passes the eye test. That said, their weak offensive line and spotty production from skill players were fully exposed in the wildcard round. If Mike McDaniel comes in and stays the offensive wizard that people know that he is, and everyone stays healthy, and their receivers learn that dropped passes don't result in contract incentives, Justin Herbert will be out of excuses. The LA Rams' 2025 season was star-studded. This was a star-studded season for the Rams, all things considered. Even though they fell short in the playoffs to the Seahawks, the stars came out big time in LA. Matthew Stafford won the Most Valuable Player award. Puka Nacua was impeccable despite winning the Least Valuable Streaming Co-Star Award. Sean McVay and his lifetime supply of hair gel had his third NFC title game appearance in his 9th season as the Rams head coach. Their defense was solid, the offense was one of the more well-oiled machines in the league, though their special teams unit can, according to most of Rams Reddit, all the way off. You had one job, Xavier! They had an impeccable regular season that had some bumps in the road, but their division rival kicked them in the keister twice in a row, including in the NFC title game to end their season. Tough way to go out, but it was a fun ride. The Miami Dolphins' 2025 season was a surrender. This was the year that the Dolphins gave up on their current regime. Mike McDaniel and his flip-flops and GM Chris Greer were ousted. Tua lost his job, and as I write this, the Dolphins' #1 receiver was released. If that doesn't scream, we've completely given up on you, I don't know what does. They truly gave up and are entering a really tough rebuild. They have to start completely from scratch as they release Tyreek Hill, Bradley Chubb, and Nick Westbrook at Calvin Austin. They have a new GM and a new head coach, and they may have a new quarterback this year, though they can't release Tua, the dead cap hits too much. The franchise may very well be staying afloat by hanging onto a life raft with the words Devon A-Chan in all caps. The Minnesota Vikings' 2025 season was disappointing. This is a bummer of a year for the Vikings. Not only did they have to rest their laurels on the handful of good games that JJ McCarthy had, but they had to watch Sam Darnold, who was in their building last year, win a Super Bowl with another team. They did somehow manage to have a better place in the standings than the Lions, who were arguably the division favorites heading into this year. A lot of it was due to Brian Flores being one of the better defensive coordinators in the league, and they refused to let him walk to a head coaching gig. Wait a minute, the Vikings refused to let an elite member of their team walk to another team? Is it like them? 9. However, the underwhelming offense resulted in a massively disappointing season. The New England Patriots' 2025 season was surreal. After going 4-13 in the ill-fated Gerard Mayo era, they brought in Mike Vrabel to right the ship, and oh boy did he. Now, people love to bring up the Patriots' easy schedule, as if playing the Jets twice a year isn't their most beloved annual tradition. Mike Vrabel took that spatula of life and flipped that frown upside down, leading the Patriots to a Super Bowl appearance. It was totally unexpected, and the Patriots vaulted themselves to the top of a really weird AFC this year. It was a surreal run to the Super Bowl for the Patriots, though they ultimately came up short. But what a wild ride to get there. Now, is this a one-off? Honestly, I doubt it. They have weaknesses they can very easily address and a QB on a rookie deal. They just need to work on consistency with skill players. Stephon Diggs is sending Texas to his exes because he won a second chance. Kyle Nick Westbrook and Keenan Williams never had more than 3 catches in a game, but averaged over 20 yards per reception. And he found the end zone thrice. Kayshon Boutte? He good. It was an insane season for Patriots fans, who also got to watch on as Bill Belichick missed the Hall of Fame and went 4-8 at UNC. Maybe not all Unks still got it. The New Orleans Saints' 2025 season was passable. Previously, I said that the Saints were going to have the worst record in the NFL this year due to Spencer Rattler related reasons. Now, in my defense, he was pretty mediocre this year. Rattler was 1-7 as a starter, though he did post a TD to INT ratio of 8-5. Fun fact, 8-5 and wide receiver for Spencer Rattler are 2 types of jobs that suck. Spencer Rattler was 1-13 in his 14 Saints starts, and then Kellen Moore was like, yeah, fuck this. We didn't spend a high second-round pick on a QB for nothing. Tyler Shuck was then inserted into the starting role, and despite that one bad combine throw you saw over and over again, was pretty good. He went 5-4, had a 10-6 TD to INT ratio, and even ran 3 touchdowns in on the ground. He even won a Rookie of the Year award with a Pepsi logo on it. Tyler Shuck was a drastic improvement over Spencer Rattler, who I promise you was once thought of as a top NFL draft prospect. It's an encouraging sign for a Saints team that's more set than anyone anticipated they would be in the second year of the Kellen Moore regime. The New York Giants' 2025 season was chaos. Here's how chaotic the Giants season was. It took me 2 massive troll tweets from a guy named Wesley Steinberg to realize he isn't even a real Giants reporter. He's just a college sophomore who found a picture of a guy in a suit and had way too much time on his hands. There was the Brian Daboll broken chair rumor. And then there was the Abdul Carter watching porn during a team meeting rumor. Those rumors spread like wildfire. but the fact that they were so believable showed how messy the Giants' season truly was. Brian Daboll started out with Russell Wilson at quarterback, but after deeply inconsistent play, Jackson Dart was thrust into the starting role, though he had some concussion concerns in his rookie year. Cam Skadaboo played like he participates annually in the running of the Bulls. As a Bull, Malik Neighbors tore his ACL, giving Wan'Dale Robinson an opportunity to catch all the checkdown passes that his little heart desires. Even with the flash on their defensive line, the Giants' defense notably struggled in 2025, which was a major factor in the Giants' 4-13 record and Brian Daboll losing his job mid-season. It was a mess from start to finish, but that's not to say there wasn't fun and excitement along the way. The New York Jets' 2025 season was Jets. Do I really have to rehash the same joke I used last year? Yes, I do. You motherfuckers don't deserve any effort whatsoever. The Jets were objectively terrible in 2025, with Aaron Glenn firing his entire staff except for himself. He's in over his head. I give it until week 7 this year before he's updating his resume and redacting the Jets portion. It was definitely another Jets year for the Jets. They made multiple quarterbacking changes. Their best offensive player got hurt and was never heard from again. They traded Sauce Gardner and somehow got the better end of the deal without even using a single draft pick they got yet. They traded Quinnen Williams, who Jerry Jones originally wanted in exchange for Micah Parsons, and both defenses remained an atrocity. Brady Cook came in late in the year and started 5 games, and his closest loss was by 23 points. This organization can't get out of its own way. The Philadelphia Eagles' 2025 season was underwhelming. Here's a little inside baseball for you folks. Sometimes I like to have my friends who root for other teams come in, provide some perspective, and help me with these videos. I asked my comedian friend Blake Wexler, a diehard Eagles fan, to sum up the Eagles season in one word. He said, and I quote, and he sent me this picture. I felt that very hard. However, since a guy who I'm sure is very nice got mad at me for using the F word a lot in my last video, I'll go elsewhere, which is all to say they tried. The Eagles offense was led by the ChatGPT of play callers, Kevin Patullo. He was so bad, Eagles fans took time away from throwing batteries at Santa Claus to throw eggs at Patullo's house. Kevin Patullo will now work for the Miami Dolphins, which will be a nice change of pace, as when Miami fans throw eggs at Patullo's house, the hot weather will make the eggs ready to eat in 5 to 7 minutes. They won a horrific NFC East in 2025, and they lost in the wildcard round to a 49ers team that was about in as good of shape as the eggshells on Kevin Patullo's garage door. They had no chance to repeat as Super Bowl champions. The Pittsburgh Steelers' 2025 season was a stagnation. Yet another season just above 500 and losing in the wildcard round. They tried to get a bunch of players in the NFL's AARP, as they acquired Aaron Rodgers, Jalen Ramsey, and other players who are old enough to remember their Super Bowl rings. They had some good wins, they had some bad wins, and their inevitable wildcard drubbing. Their fans had some hopes, but the rest of us knew that they were doomed to the Jeff Fisher tier, even though I got that wrong in my last video. I'm sorry. But listen, I'm glad you made the playoffs, and I'm glad you imagined scenarios where you could have beaten the Patriots or some shit, I don't know. I hope you guys enjoy Mike McCarthy while he lives out his dream of being fired from the Steelers in 3 years. The San Francisco 49ers' 2025 season was torn. The 49ers will always have strong potential as a squad, as long as Kyle Shanahan is their head coach. He is, whether it's quietly or not, one of the best coaches in the NFL. I genuinely am torn on how good this team can be. Christian McCaffrey flipped a coin in the 2025 season and it landed on heads, meaning he would have a healthy 2025. As a result, he had one of the best seasons out of any running back in the NFL, as he led the NFL in touches. He was one of 2 players in the NFL to top 2,000 yards from scrimmage, and he was 3rd in the NFL with 17 all-purpose touchdowns. I will be torn on him every year until he hangs up those damn cleats. However, the true story with the 49ers this year was the injury bug absolutely swallowing them whole. I don't feel like repeating the whole list again, but I will say they had so many injuries. I totally forgot to mention in my last video that Michael Williams, their first-round pick from 2025, tore his ACL. With the litany of torn ligaments and still effective play in spite of that, I am truly torn on this team and their chances to come back. The Seattle Seahawks' 2025 season was complete. Nobody expected the Seahawks to go as far as they did. Even I was critical of the Sam Darnold signing, not because of Darnold himself, because the Seahawks, they didn't really super address their offensive line. Turns out Grey Zabel was excellent. This was just a complete team all around. They made it all the way to the #1 seed in the NFC and got the Lombardi Trophy. The defense, it finally lived up to the hype. The Broncos sold the farm to get Russell Wilson, and head coach Mike Macdonald reaped the benefits of all those draft picks. So I guess you could say the Seattle Seahawks won the Super Bowl because old McDonald had a farm. Wonderful. Excellent joke, Schubert. Really, really proud of you. That's your best work yet. We're so proud. Damn it, you should retire on that. But we're not going to, because we have more teams to talk about. It was a surreal year for Seahawks fans, many of whom were in my comments. Thank you guys so much. That saw Sam Darnold win a Super Bowl just a few years after he was written off as a draft bust for Adam Gase-related reasons. This team is full of studs, and they completed their journey to the Super Bowl. And it culminated with Sam Darnold and Kenneth Walker pretending to give a shit while riding teacups. The Tampa Bay Bucks' 2025 season was a free fall. The heights were high for Tampa Bay this year. Despite an injury-plagued offensive squad, Baker Mayfield led the Bucks on an impressive 6-2 start. But after that, everything that sucks about Todd Bowles reared its ugly head. They spent all of November and December losing game after game after game after, okay, they won that one, after game after game after game after game. That was my fun and frisky way of saying they went 1-7 in November and December combined. Baker Mayfield was not his normal self. Todd Bowles poured gasoline on his own hot seat, and Kyle Pitts scored 3 touchdowns against the Bucks on a Thursday night. Yet somehow Todd Bowles is keeping his job in Tampa despite that lackluster season. Can't relate. The Tennessee Titans' 2025 season was developmental. 3-14 isn't great. It isn't very good at all. Cam Ward even said, if we keep it at a buck, we ass. And they were. Ass. Brian Callahan was the first head coach to be given his pink slip this year. He is now a QB coach with the Giants. The Titans were just a team that was doomed from the start. Cam Ward was tied with Geno Smith for the most sacks taken in the NFL, which is not good considering you want your #1 overall pick to feel confident and not woozy to the point that he goes to Kid Rock's bar by choice. With that, things did improve as the season went on, and Cam Ward established himself as the franchise quarterback who desperately needs pieces who aren't an okay receiver who's also a fantastic punt returner. And finally, the Washington Commanders' 2025 season was a little frightening. Okay, this might be a little bit of an exaggeration, but just 1 year after making the NFC Championship game, Marcus Mariota continued his reign as America's favorite backup that everyone forgot won a Heisman Trophy. Jaden Daniels had an injury-plagued 2025 season that gave plenty of Commanders fans flashbacks to the career of Robert Griffin III. The defense, meanwhile, collapsed in every facet to the point that Dan Quinn took over defensive play calling. Both coordinators lost their jobs as DC Joe Witt Jr. was fired, and offensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury and the Commanders mutually agreed to part ways. They were flying high and even started out okay at 3-2, but after that, they lost 10 of their next 11. Jaden Daniels got hurt, and now they have to rebuild again. It was a tough year for the Commanders that ended with more questions than answers. And thank you guys so much for watching this video. And again, thank you so much to all the people who left really, really nice comments in my last video. If you have not already, you can click the like button, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell to get notifications every time I upload a video. But for now, stay tuned for more sports content that you didn't ask for.